Hey, hey. Hello, everybody. Hello, hello. Happy holidays. Good to see everyone. All right, Karen, looking forward to this. Combining Neurovisor and adapting Genius biofeedback versions, Insight Health Frequency several ways. Love to hear more about that, Karen. Neurovisor, probably a lot of you saw a recent video I put out comparing Neurovisor to V-Light. I think Neurovisor is great, and I think that it probably does activate the brain in a lot of ways that mimics what's being done in these MIT studies that helps break down beta amyloid plaques, or at least a lot of the evidence is being shown that it does so, especially at 40 hertz. But we need that research data to come out by this summer. Hopefully by August, MIT will have those results on the HOPE study and the Overture study, where they're taking a look at 40 oscillation per second stimulation, like what the Neurovisor uses, to see if they can prove that it really is improving outcomes in human patients. And I don't know if those of you saw a couple of weeks ago, there was a wearable that was approved for depression for direct electrical stimulation of the frontal lobe of the brain. So sort of a big win for wearables. Just because something's FDA approved doesn't necessarily mean that it will be reimbursed by insurance. You would think that it would be. It needs to be, in my opinion, especially in the States. But things are moving right along. We have wearables now that should be getting reimbursed for by insurance plans, which I think is the direction that we need to go in. This is 2025, almost 2026 now. And we really should be having treatments that we can use at home that are not just located in the clinic, because I think that that was one of the main issues with neurofeedback over the last 30 years, is that you had to go into the clinic repeatedly to get training in neurofeedback. Now, some randomized control trials and meta-analyses have been not so great when it comes to neurofeedback for training for ADHD. I think the problem that they're having is that they just take children with focus difficulties in ADHD and sit them down in front of a screen and expect the neurofeedback exercises to automatically fix their inattention and hyperactivity. Now, that's not saying that it doesn't show evidence. We're seeing that there is evidence that neurofeedback training does improve these scales, at least on the Conners P3 score, that indicates an improvement in focus in ADHD. It's just that when you compare that to blinding both observers and the people that are receiving the neurofeedback, especially the observers, that's what you can blind most readily, meaning that you have teachers and parents observing children, and they're not sure if the children got the neurofeedback or not. That's when it gets more difficult to prove that neurofeedback has actually improved focus and attention. Australian, hey, good to hear from you. Australian, I'm going to butcher that. Broker writing? Good to hear from. Hey, Edward. Have you heard of Beacon 40, a lamp that flashes 40 hertz? It just sits 6 feet away from your person. No need to look at it directly. Beacon, it's called Beacon 40. As you can imagine, the barrier to entry for 40 hertz stimulation lamps is going to be quite low. I think that if these MIT studies come out, it will be difficult for the company Cognito that has established this treatment to differentiate themselves in the market, other than being reimbursed by insurance companies. I think that's where they're really going to actually generate a profit and stand out, is if they're actually prescribed in doctors' offices. Because as you can see, it's already become the case that a lot of different companies are offering 40 hertz flickering light stimulation based on these studies, and that almost any company can just buy a pair of LEDs and have it flash at 40 oscillations per second and make a bunch of claims based on the MIT studies. I'm not saying anything against Beacon 40. I'm just saying I'm not familiar with them, and I've seen so many of these companies over the last 6 months be advertised, which I think is great. You know, we see all this evidence 4 different types of light treatment and stimulation. I'll share my screen here. But being said, we do need to keep in mind that there could be different subtleties to these devices, how close they are placed to the eyes, how encompassing they are, do they have the audio stimulation along with them that would actually correlate into in brain performance that's claimed by Cognito, which is the spinoff from the MIT study. So we need to keep that in mind that as these companies that inevitably become more popular, and as these companies inevitably start doing a lot of marketing around 40 hertz stimulation, that they have not gone through the clinical trials like Cognito has. And that's definitely going to be a thing for summer 2026. That's going to be a huge issue. Baroque writing. So what is Baroque writing? Australian Baroque writing. I need to take a look at Baroque writing to understand. I was involved in research on neurofeedback in the early 2000s. So when I saw them on open market, awesome. Yeah, like I was on bio and neurofeedback, because of rapid brain assessment. And I just, I'm uploading a video right now that should be out tomorrow morning that demonstrates brain maps I did when meditating. So I'll pull that up here in a sec. So this video is going live tomorrow, and I did jhana meditation states. That's what I've been practicing lately, advanced meditation states, by doing what. So Leigh Brasington wrote this book called Right Concentration, and it perfectly illustrates what I've been practicing in meditation, which is you do 10 minutes of neurofeedback. And I've found that if you do the 10 minutes of neurofeedback before doing more advanced meditation practice, it's almost like you're putting money in the bank for the rest of the meditation session. It builds up this goodwill almost to make the rest of the meditation session just explosive. It just seems to go so much better. And I never really understood why that to be the case. So I read Leigh Brasington's Right Concentration, and I was like, oh my gosh, this makes complete sense, what he's talking about. So basically, it builds up this concentration that he calls right concentration. This is the video that I'll be posting tomorrow morning. So this is the book, Right Concentration, Practical Guide to the Jhanas by Leigh Brasington. And he talks about the eightfold jhana path. And really where I'm at in my stage of meditation is that I can get into jhana 3 or 4. Now, this is up for debate. People talk about Leigh Brasington's jhanas as being light jhana, but I spoke with a professor from Oxford and described to him my meditation practice at the V-Light conference this fall. And I was surprised to have him give me feedback and be like, yeah, you're in jhana. Like, jhana isn't as complicated as people make it seem. It's not like you're enlightened if you get into jhana stage 1. If you have a pretty definable state change between the mindfulness exercise and what is described as joy and rapture as a meditation object in and of itself, you are in jhana state 1. And there's a lot of different things to signify you've entered that state. Your breathing gets more rapid in the access concentration stage. You start to oscillate and rock back and forth a little bit. And that's exactly what happens to me when I get into jhana state 1. And I try to keep that under wraps and not do that at all when I'm doing these brain maps, because I don't want to mess up the EEG with a bunch of delta activity, which happens with muscle contractions. But it's definitely what's going on. And so it gave me a lot more confidence to talk about it on YouTube. Yeah, I'm in jhana stage 1, stage 2. I'm entering into 3 and 4, where I'm trying to let my ego go and, dissolve into infinite space. It's actually really difficult for me to do right now. But with the mind lift maps, I'm able to very readily demonstrate that there's a huge surge in high alpha and low beta when you go into first jhana, and definitely into the high beta range as well. And then you come back down into more high alpha and low beta in second jhana. That being said, I got really excited about brain maps from MindLift because they have this new rapid assessment that made this possible for me to do. It used to be that you had to move this electrode around, but you can leave it in CZ and get a rapid snapshot, and makes it a lot more practical for me to do during a meditation session. And so we've been doing this with people in the 8-week program where they're using red light therapy, practicing a specific type of meditation to get into these states. And then we can document things with their brain maps. So for those of you that are interested in this, we have the 5-day challenge that does not require any equipment. That's starting next week on January 5th. So we'll have like an introductory course to show you different strategies to get into advanced meditation, and some of the different tools that you can use, like Neurovisor or the Muse headband or V-Light red light. And then you can pick and choose for yourself what you want to use, and use the strategies that we have. I have a new workbook for the 5-day challenge. So for those of you that are curious and interested, I'll just drop a link here. It's the Sharper Everyday challenge. If you want to do that, kind of an introductory course, if you want to do the 8-week program where we're combining the NeuroPro 2 from V-Light with 8 weeks of video modules, weekly meetings with myself. The 5-day challenge, we meet 5 days in a row for an hour, give you a chance to ask me questions and sort of get used to my coaching style and see if you would want to invest further. And it's entry level ticket, so it's $497 for the 5 days straight with me. I usually charge $500 an hour. So $500 for 5 hours is, I think, a great deal. And you can ask me any questions that you want. The group sizes haven't been too huge. I think we have about 6 signups already for this next coming month. So that's general range is 6 to 12 people in the groups. And what's cool is that you can meet other people that are on your same path. And we have the community page to, keep in touch. And the recordings are, the sessions are recorded, so you can watch them on your own time. This month we're doing it at 4 p.m. Pacific, which is 7 p.m. Eastern. So I'm doing it a little earlier than I had in the past. I was doing it around 6 p.m. Pacific, but that was conflicting with dinner time with my kids and family time. So I'm doing it a little bit earlier this month. And let's see what else. And then the 8-week program is 8 weeks of that, but much slower pace. And I send you the extra electrode for the mind lift equipment to use with the Muse headband, so we can get these brain maps. But you have to have your own red light therapy device. And most people have been gravitating towards the NeuroPro 2, even though that one is quite expensive. So that was a little rant of mine. Let me catch back up on the chat. Australian Baroque writing. I'm just going to call you Mr. Australia. The video is coming out tomorrow morning, so I would love to hear your feedback. And you were practicing changing your brainwaves while testing out the equipment many, many decades ago. Well, that's what's really exciting about what's going on with the MindLift system and Muse, is that we could do these snapshots at home that would have taken tens of thousands of dollars in the clinic before. So I think more and more people will be doing this. And there was a trend about 5 years ago where people were posting a lot of line graphs from Muse Mind Monitor sessions. And that was great, but it lost a little steam over the years. And I think that hopefully we'll get a resurgence as people are able to do brain snapshots with the MindLift system. And John Knox, are red and near-infrared light frequencies therapeutic primarily because they deliver usable energy, or because they function informational signals that shift cellular decision making under stress. Well, I'll say first off, the science is still being teased out. What we do know is that when you shine red light, it does increase the energy of the cells. We know that the mitochondria create more proteins to create more ATP, and that generally gives more energy to the neurons themselves as well as surrounding tissues to just have more metabolic energy to perform. So that's the first point. The second point is that V-Light has done quite a lot of work in differentiating what's happening in terms of stimulation frequencies. And oh my gosh, V-Light is coming out with this AI system that can analyze brainwaves, and they're working on it now. It's really exciting, and I can't say much more else than that because it hasn't been released yet. But what is probably going to start happening is we're going to start getting some feedback loops between the V-Light products and EEG analyses. And again, I can't say too much, but what I've seen with my clients is that it is pretty predictable. If you stimulate someone with alpha, they tend to get more alpha. They tend to relax more. If you stimulate someone with 40 hertz gamma or even higher, up to 120 or even higher, you tend to get them to have faster brain waves in that direction. But there's a lot going on with different harmonics and people's tendencies to stay in thought loops or be more amendable to the stimulation through mindfulness meditation. There's a lot of different aspects that can alter how much the stimulation frequencies push you in either direction. So that's what we work on a lot in my 8-week course, because the 5-day is more of an introduction. With the 8-week course, we have a lot more time to take before and after snapshots of the client brains using the QEEG system from MindLift. And I'm pointing up here because I have this monitor in front of me with the mind maps. But basically what you find is that people respond differently based on how their brains operate. So there's a lot going on there. But yes, and you ask, because they function as informational signals that shift to cellular decision making under stress. I don't know if I'd go that far. What I can say is that we can shift people into rest and relax mode with certain frequencies. So you go into more parasympathetic nervous system instead of fight or flight, which is sympathetic nervous system. And so as far as like the cellular decisions making under stress, when you are in fight or flight, cells are expending a lot of energy to escape a threat. And that's not always beneficial because you're burning off a lot of energy and you can't stay in that high RPM, so to speak, for long periods of time. So in a way, we can guide people into a more relaxed state using things like alpha and theta stimulation with red light therapy. And that actually does shift cellular decision-making in a way under stress. So there's a lot there. Australian, are you monetized yet? I want to send a super chat. Oh, thank you so much. I actually need to figure out how to turn that on. I don't think I've monetized the chat for that. I'll have to look into that. I appreciate it. Atelier 27. Nice to hear from you, Atelier. Hopefully I didn't butcher your name too much. I was looking for a device that has an easy to read brainwave data, allows you to save it, preferably if fully self-contained, no apps, no subs, no phone or iPad. Sounds like you're worried about the data being shared, which I can say that most of these companies have signed some version of, well, in Colorado and California, they've passed state legislator protecting your information from third parties. I know Neurable and Neurosity have signed that legislature protecting your brain data. I wouldn't be, in my opinion, too worried about them sharing data. If you're worried about like AI decoding your brain at this point, don't worry about it. It's not quite there yet. I don't know if it'll ever be there yet based on the fidelity of the information we have, but like it's not going to be able to read your thoughts. That being said, I don't know any fully self-contained, no apps, no subs, no iPhone or iPad devices. So you're talking about like if it was just on the computer, I think is what you're saying. I can confidently say that none, I mean, if you think of these devices as like consumer level devices, right? And these companies have to survive, right? So they need to make it so that the average consumer can use them. And there's just no way around these companies not creating apps that you can use or graphical user interfaces through some kind of cloud system. And that's just where we're at. Like, I don't know any self-contained systems other than Brain Master might be one, but Brain Master costs 25 grand. So if you go into the higher level clinical stuff, then yes, there are systems that are self-contained that would have software that you would have on your desktop. But as far as the consumer wearables that I talk about on YouTube with, that I talk about often, those are all going to have apps and likely be connected to the cloud. And you just have to trust them that they're not, using your brain data for nefarious purposes. And that's just where we're at. But there has been legislature passed, a lot of it pushed forth by my friend Sean Pazowski that I had on the channel around this time last year, who heads up the Neuro Rights Foundation. He's in Colorado. He's a neurologist, and they've been pushing forth legislation that's gone through in Colorado and California to bring neural data under the umbrella of genetic data to be protected from selling to third parties and using for any nefarious purposes. Desmar, do you have any experience with neuro-ophthalmology, meaning double vision, visual, and spatial neglect? I am not a neuro-ophthalmologist. I would not claim to have much clinical knowledge for correcting double vision. Although I did have a patient, I do have a patient that was getting dizzy, and we thought it was some kind of type of migraine, vestibular migraine that she was getting. And she told me she visited a ophthalmologist who told her that it was a misalignment with her vision that was causing the dizziness. So if you have dizziness out there, do check in with a neuro-ophthalmologist or an ophthalmologist on what your eyes are doing, because that could be a source of dizziness. Atelier, Mind Mirror System. Have you worked with that? I think that's self-contained, but maybe not as much data. Yeah, I've heard of Mind Mirror. I haven't used it myself. I forget what hardware that they use. Might be Brain Master, but I think it's a it's a bit of an older program, more of a legacy program, but I haven't used that one. I know there's a book, right? Didn't they write a book on it? I remember reading the book and being very interested with their comparison between the hemispheres and the different frequencies, and sort of drawing a map of what people's individual brains look like. It was interesting for sure. I learned a lot from the book. Another question about V-Lite Vegas. People keep asking me about V-Lite Vegas. I really need to make a video. In fact, I'm going to make a note right now because I was just trying to figure out what new videos I wanted to make for 2026. And V-Lite Vegas, people keep asking me about that, and I think that needs to go to the top of the list. What other videos would you guys like to see in 2026? Because what typically happens for me is that there's a lot of updates and new hardware coming out in the fall. So I'd sort of spend from August to end of December really doing product reviews, which is great. People love those in terms of like learning how the hardware works and learning more about the brain and the neuroscience behind it. But after 6 months of doing it, I wouldn't say that I get burnt out on hardware reviews and software reviews, because it's sort of the bread and butter of what I'm doing on YouTube. And I think that it teaches us a lot about neuroscience and brain health and how to think about treating the brain through different wearables. That being said, I do like to mix things up by about January, February, I need a little breath of fresh air. And that's why I'm really excited about the meditation video that's coming out tomorrow morning. I think that you guys will really like it, where I show and talk about my strategy and process for meditation and how I've incorporated like Muse headband and Mendy headband into that to further develop access concentration. So I didn't finish that thought loop earlier when I was talking, where in my meditation practice, I'll do like a baseline, and then I'll do a 10-minute neurofeedback exercise, and that sort of gets all my attention circuitry online. And then that's what Lee Brazenton calls access concentration. So you are in the zone, and then you switch your attention from the breath to the meditation object of joy and rapture itself. And that's how you get up into first jhana. So I'm really excited for that video to air tomorrow morning. So that's an example of like me wanting to go a little somewhere else than just product reviews. Like I want to run experiments and share what I've been learning and what I've been experiencing in my meditation sessions and what we're doing in the coaching program with the clients using red light therapy and how they're making gains there. So there's a lot to talk about, and I'd love to hear suggestions on what other people would like to see coming up this year. I do think that I might go, I want to round out the information on my channel about overall brain health, because as you might assume and guess, a lot of people that have been taking my programs have other concerns than just the technology. You know, I love the tech side of it. And I think that it's a very important evolving part of where brain health treatment and detection is going to go over the next 10 years. But that's in conjunction with a lot of the other supplements, medications, biohacking methods that are out there that actually make the neurotech more dynamic to talk about, because it's like, well, what biomarkers do you get when you do a cold plunge? Can you see anything when you do something like take methylene blue for a week? And that was one of the videos of mine that really took off this last year, was a video about methylene blue, where I was just kind of messing around with the Muse headband and seeing what it would do to alpha peak levels. I didn't like how methylene blue made me feel. I didn't like that it stained my tongue. And I didn't like the fact that it's got some serotonergic activity in it. And I talk about that in the video. But the game of YouTube is you just make videos and you honestly, a lot of the time, don't know which ones are going to take off. And then in retrospect, you look back over the last 12 months and you're like, the methylene blue video got 80,000 views, 90,000 views. There's 100,000 people out there that want to learn about methylene blue and watch my little video about, measuring my brain while taking methylene blue. Okay, well, there's something there. Is it the right people that I want in my programs? That's an important question to ask. If you want to take methylene blue and you're have a well-rounded thought process behind it and don't want methylene blue just to solve all your problems, then come do red light therapy and meditation with me. You might be a good fit. But if you think that something like methylene blue is going to magically fix all your issues, then you might not be the right type of client to work with me. And the reason I bring that up is that when you make videos, yes, it's cool to see videos go over 100,000 views, but am I attracting the right people to what we're doing here? You all are sitting here learning from me and asking me questions live. I have to assume that if you're here today, you're probably an ideal client for me, because there's not that many here on the live stream. A lot more people will watch this later, but Atlier, methylene blue, great for me. Put it in a capsule, no staining. Well, thanks for the advice. And I'm not totally down. I'm not criticizing methylene blue. I'm just offering my own perspective on it. But coming back around to the point that I wanted to make was that I'd like to revisit methylene blue. I'd like to revisit a lot of other trends that are happening right now. I think red light therapy is a definite trend. I think that one trend, I want to do the Venn diagram between neurotech because that's the niche that I have the most knowledge set in and needs to be talked about the most, and no one else is doing on YouTube, but maybe is a small niche and doesn't reach as wide of an audience, which is fine if I'm attracting high value clients. But also, I do want to popularize and bring more attention and resources into neurotech development. So that's one, neurotech. The second one is brain health longevity. And I think that that's the one that I need to. Oh, that was funny. Did it automatically make hearts when I did that? I was trying to make a Venn diagram and it's like making hearts. I want to do Venn diagram of neurotech, biohacking protocols, but also new developments in longevity medicine is where I'm going with this. So genetic testing to check if you have ApoE4 or some of these other dementia type genetic markers and what you could do about it. And then peptides, I noticed, are completely taken off for good reasons. You have all these biological molecules that are being prescribed. And so navigating the landscape of peptides to improve your brain health along with your meditation and red light therapy. And then the biohacking stuff. So like methylene blue, HBOT, cryotherapy, whatever else you want to try. So I'll probably be testing a lot of that through the spring. Anybody got suggestions on what types of videos they'd like me to make? One of the things that's happening with neurotech is that it's become so diverse in terms of there's so many different companies with hardware now that I can't even keep up. There's some pretty popular ones that I haven't even been able to make a video for yet, like a dedicated video for like Elamind or Senzi. I made a little bit of a video of, but there's so many different ones that are coming online that I can't even keep up. And I'm just trying to cover the ones that I think would bring the most value to my clients. And so what's sort of happening is I'm gravitating more towards Muse Headband. I just love the ecosystem of the Muse Headband. There's so many different apps that you can use. It can use it for different things. And I just think that their team is fantastic and they're innovating at a pace that's not seen in a lot of other neurotech companies right now. I think it's the experience that they have over the last 15 years of being around, 10, 15 years. Vids on Adelie, thank you. Vids on tangible life improvements, like saying we don't meditate to get, like the saying goes, we don't meditate to get better meditation. Like people get sick getting better or making money. Like people sick getting better or making money. Gotcha. Updates on the industry would be good. Yeah, Neurable just raised 35 million. That was cool to see. I'm very happy for Ramses Al-Qaid and the team. Great to see. I wonder what their market cap was. All they said was 35 million. I'm not sure how much equity they gave away for that, but that wasn't public information. I was curious about that. And Atlayer, I totally agree with you. And I've got some, I think the first step that I can make is testimonials. Oh, so there's this college football player named Ricardo that I want to interview here soon in the next week or two. But he had a lot of concussions growing up and playing college football. And then he did V-light, red light therapy and had major improvements. So I'm glad that you brought that up. So I'm coming up with ideas here on this live chat. So we talked about red light vagus nerve stimulator, but I need to do more real life improvements. So I'm going to definitely interview this gentleman that had significant improvements from V-light, red light therapy for various symptoms from concussion. Do that. And then what I was also going to say is I've got a lot of testimonials stacking up from people that have been in the program. So I need to share more of that, life improvements. Eduardo, the video you did working with Brian Johnson was cool. More like that would be nice. Oh, that's so funny that you said that, because I felt like not very many people watched that video. I didn't really work with him. I met with him to discuss neurotech and actually made videos on kernel. So I guess like in some way, in some capacity, I worked with kernel, collaborated with them to make some video content. Okay, some more personal stories about sort of behind the scenes neurotech stuff. Yeah, I should have more of that coming up pretty soon. I'm moving to San Diego County. I'm in Las Vegas now, and I have been for the last 5 years. It's been a really nice tax shelter, I suppose you could say, as I'm revving up my online business and the coaching program and living full time off of YouTube income, which is a different situation than being a regular doctor in the hospital. So Nevada was a great because Nevada has 0% state tax, which was nice to keep the engine running. But the business is doing well, and I've got a great opportunity to do some big collaborations in California. So I'm actually moving to San Diego County in 3 weeks. It's this big life science hub, if you're not familiar with Southern California. And I've got a big collaboration coming with a family office that wants to invest in neurotech. We've already had a deal that is reaching completion, and it's really exciting. Should have a lot of behind the scenes stories to talk about in a couple of months about being the neurotech expert of an incubator program, and some new companies hopefully will spin out of that. So we'll see. Thank you, Sunlight Caller. And I should also mention that for people that have completed the 8-week program, I have a continuity program called the Neuro Pioneers. So if you've worked with me for some time and want to meet me in person and meet up, and we're gonna have two live meetups a year is the plan, and we'd be doing that in beautiful San Diego. So I'd have all the fun neurotech devices, but also it's a chance for everybody to meet up. And the people that take my programs, addicted is the wrong word, but a lot of people have bought some of these devices and use them that it's so fun to like trade stories about neurotech, and it's just like basically like brain health neurotech enthusiasts that we can all meet up and spend time with each other. So I'm really looking forward to that. Atelier, effective psychedelics would be cool. I know, tricky. Yeah, I've thought so many times to go more in that direction. Oh, count you in as addicted? Yeah, I suppose I'm addicted as well. Oh yeah, and the TDCS device, such as Flow, Sparky Aris asked that. Yeah, I already reached out to their chief medical officer, and hopefully we'll have some more information and content on that soon. He's talking about the one that was FDA approved, I think. Might have to recheck that. Eduardo, it was just so nice to see your insight of things. Personal stories would be great. Yeah, I think that I have a really unique viewpoint, just to toot my own horn on like what's going on the neurotech side of things. And it's like definitely becoming a part of the huge artificial intelligence story. So I was actually, when I moved to San Diego in a couple of weeks, and you guys will see this, I wanted to try to set this up for this live call because I'm just using my webcam. You might notice that the quality isn't as nice as my normal videos, which I normally film on my giant Nikon DSLR. But I think I'm going to do more of a desk setup in the next studio to where I can do live streams more often. But also, one idea I had was sort of newscasting a little bit more, so less really packaged neurotech product reviews, which I'll still do. But I think that I can get on a little bit more freestyle about what I'm seeing in the industry and different developments that have happened. So maybe even just like a video or two a month of me just talking about neurotech events and going over those, giving my perspective, because things are really heating up. It's so interesting to see the money move at this point. I think that what I've seen in different industries, watching over the years, and this goes for virtual reality, general language models, it seems like the money moves 5 years before the big peak, before the big release, where stuff really starts to catch on, and like a lot of the largest companies have been established, and to like outcompete them, you would have to spend hundreds of millions of dollars. And so like a good example of that where would be like if you wanted to get into general language models, you'd have to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to, or a billion, to compete with OpenAI or Claude or Anthropic. All these general language models have already sort of taken off. And so it's become so competitive. It's like, well, how do you start a new company to copy what they've done when they're so far ahead? And but I think that neurotech right now in is sort of at that point where there's a lot of opportunity, and that's why we're seeing a lot of new companies being founded. But it might not always be that way. I think that there will always be smaller niches that neurotech can be used for, but my prediction is in 5 or 10 years, we're going to see development to the point at which if you want just a general sort of brain imaging helmet using the current modalities like EEG or FNIRS or some of these other new ones that are coming online, you might have to create a whole new measurement technique to really stand out, because I think that like the lines in the sand are being drawn and like the money is starting to flow in. I'm biased. I might be inaccurate there. I'm sure some venture capitalists might be laughing when I say that, but hey, you're crazy until you're right, right? Until proven right, everybody thinks you're crazy. And I've been crazy for a long time, but it's cool to see the field picking up and developing. Still might be a little while until we have full on brain computer interface where you're able to just put on a helmet and control a cursor on the screen. But I think it's coming. Like I've seen some recent developments in some new tech that's being developed that I can't even talk about because of NDAs being signed, that I think if they can increase the signal to noise ratio on these things, they're going to be pretty wild. All right. Well, I was going to go over some other questions on YouTube, but you guys have been so active today that I've been able to just riff off of the questions. So keep the questions coming. I think I covered all of them. If I didn't cover your question, copy and paste it to the bottom of the chat. We talked about more tangible improvements. We talked about Light Vegas therapy. We talked about how I want to sort of redesign my studio a little bit in California to be more of a newscaster situation. I might have like a more of a what do they call that? Shotgun mic in front of my face and do more of like a newscast setup so that I can. I mean, the problem is like when I set up to do the product reviews, I set up the camera tripod and I sit on the couch and make sure the angle is right. And there's just like so much that comes along with that. And the more that I've done YouTube, the more that I've learned, the more I realize that you, the audience, just wants the information. You don't care about the setup much. So what I'm thinking of is like just sitting at the desk, kind of like what Mark Hyman, MD, does, or some of the Healthy Gamer, Dr. K, some of these other YouTubers, they just have the camera just mounted to the desk, and then it's like it's all set up and ready to go, and they just hit record and go. So what I'd like to do is, be able to put up more videos more regularly at a faster pace to keep up with like all the development that's happening in the neurotech space. Is there any home Atlier, I'm looking at one of your earlier questions. Is there any home use device that can measure high gamma up to 200 hertz? The one that can measure gamma or reports to do so is Neurosity. But you might be Neurosity was one of the ones that guarantees protecting your brain data, but it does upload to the cloud, and it does have a Wi-Fi unit on it, which some people have some heartache about having Wi-Fi close to your head. But the reason they did that is to increase the bandwidth of information they can send, so it can pick up gamma and record gamma. I don't know if it goes up to 200 hertz. Gamma starts at 40, so um, I'd have to ask them about that. They've mentioned, thanks Eduardo. They mentioned on their website that VLight AI is coming, but I wonder how it will work with the Duo Neuro 4. They mentioned that you can get Muse to get an EEG map. Yes. Okay, so they already have been promoting it on their website. I wasn't sure. I actually have another meeting with them tomorrow morning because I am helping them design this thing. Not from the ground up, but like they just wanted to know what configuration would be best for biohackers. And so I'm giving them my 2 cents from like running these 8-week programs and like what features my clients would like to see, because it's like if they can design it for people that take my programs, it's probably pretty optimized for people that want to use the AI EEG analysis for red light therapy. So I made a couple of recommendations about how to set up the initial user interface and like what information would be most helpful. I mean, my general advice to them was try to make it not too complicated, because people want to know just what setting they should put the red light therapy devices on based on their brain data. They're more used to coming from the research and academic side of things, where you have neuroscientists that are doing different experiments, multiple runs of some similar experiment, and batching that together and doing the data analytics from that, which is great for researchers. It gives them a lot of flexibility. But my theory is, and maybe you guys can chime in here, is that the general biohacker, the people that would be using the VLight AI system to analyze data off Muse Headband or Neurable or Neurosity, they want to take that data. I mean, all the bells and whistles, yeah, sure, they want more flexibility, but like on the initial page, just tell them like what setting they need to put the red light therapy on. So you're basically like replicating what I do in my program, which is take a look at all these brain maps and get not only the brain maps, but like subjective symptoms. I have people fill out surveys before they start the 8-week program, so we know like what they're dealing with and what their goals are, so we can couple that with the brain maps to get the best red light therapy stimulations. So replicating what I do with my clinical expertise, putting that in the AI and having it do that automatically to take a lot of the guesswork out of what's happening. So hopefully they'll be able to give good recommendations on what red light therapy you should do just based on the brain data that you load up into it from wearables. Helgi, what's your analysis of the gut-brain axis and Liebart Parkinson's disease? What research design considerations might you propose for further research? I'll have to look at the research. I'm not totally familiar with Ann Liebert's. Were they saying that, I mean, I don't want to jump into something that I'm not well read up on. I'm not sure what Liebert et al. Is quite saying. Can you fill me in? What was the general? I mean, I could talk about gut brain access all day, but I was just photobiomodulation research of Parkinson's disease. Is that the Australian group. I can look that up really quick. I think you're talking about the Australian group that was doing the photobiomodulation studies on Parkinson's. I mean, what they were talking about on the Huberman podcast is that if you do red light stimulation anywhere on the body, it'll actually curb insulin response and blood sugar swings up to 27%. And I thought that was incredible. It really sets things up for protecting you from metabolic disease, which, as you can imagine, likely leads to Parkinson's and Alzheimer's disease. It's not like the only cause, but it doesn't make things any better. So I have a video coming out next week that I called the 5 biggest mistakes of red light therapy. And so a lot of that was information gleaned from the Huberman podcast that came out a couple of weeks ago. And then I made a response video too that I posted last week. So 5 biggest mistakes, and this is kind of a preview for the video that's coming out. Number 1 was you need to be using your red light therapy device first thing in the morning, because if we are targeting mitochondria to increase ATP production, they do the majority of that within the first 4 to 6 hours of wakefulness. So if we're looking to increase our energy levels from ATP production by stimulating mitochondria with red light therapy, you need to be doing that in the morning. Even if I have people using the photobiomodulation to relax at night for better sleep, I'm still recommending that they do a morning session and prioritize the morning session because of that fact. It turns out that later in the day, mitochondria are doing a lot of other rest and relax repair activities to, rejuvenate themselves after the ATP production. So you want to get it in the morning hours. Sorry, I got a frog in my throat today. Tip number 2 was do the red light therapy before your first meal to take advantage of that curbing of the blood glucose response, the insulin response. Number 3 was, just want to make sure I get the order right. You want to support the red light therapy with the right fuel. So I'm a big believer in taking creatine these days, at least 5 grams a day. If you haven't been taking it, do a loading phase with up to 20 grams per day, which is 4 or 5 scoops for most creatine brands. Because when you take creatine, it gives your body a lot of creatine, which is a donor molecule for ADP, to create more ATP. So it's the fuel for creating more ATP. And so do red light therapy in the first thing in the morning, do it before your first meal. And then with the first meal, take your creatine so you got more fuel to create more ATP after the red light therapy stimulation. Number 4 was making sure you use the nasal cannulas, because that's going to be the easiest way to get the most irradiance of your brain through the thin plate behind your nose, the cribriform plate, which is the thin piece of bone behind your nose. And number 5 would be practice mindfulness meditation. So you want to be an open, calm, receptive state of mind. And I mean, that's one of the coolest examples I can think of is how psychology and biology interact, is that if you are stuck on a thought loop, you're in default mode network, and there's a lot of rigid thought that generates a lot of electrical activity that keeps your brain from not responding to outside influences as well. And there is some evidence in the ultrasound literature, ultrasound stimulation, that mindfulness training improves your receptiveness to ultrasound stimulation, which is another way of modulating brain activity. So I'm recommending that with my clients with red light therapy, which is another type of way to modulate brain activity, is through the red light pulsing. So practice it with a mindfulness meditation state of mind. So that one will be coming out in 2 weeks, and I'm excited about that being released. Can you use, John asks, can you use V-Light to induce deep meditation? Yes. And I have been primarily using it at the 120 hertz range with clients to get them into first state of jhana. I was talking about this earlier in the live stream, where I have a video coming out tomorrow morning where I did mind maps of me going into first and second stage jhana. I will have more videos coming out talking about using the photobiomodulation at 120 hertz or higher to induce that first stage of jhana more reliably in clients. And we've been having some really interesting effects there. So that's how I've been using it for inducing meditation states. All right. Well, I hope everybody had a wonderful holiday last week, and we got the new year coming up this week. My New Year resolution this year is to serve more people by posting more frequently, and that's really what my new desk setup is going to do. And I'm going to work a little bit through the week, get this video posted tomorrow morning, but take a little bit of New Year's time off. My wife got tickets to the Backstreet Boys. Believe it or not, the Backstreet Boys are back and they are performing. And I wasn't going to go. My brother's wife was going to go with her, but my brother's wife is pregnant and is worried about being on her feet for too long. So I, Dr. Cody Rawl, get to go to a Backstreet Boys concert with my wife, which will be our sort of New Year's celebration. But after that, after Backstreet Boys, getting into the swing of things for 2026, I'm really excited. That being said, if you want to join the 5-day challenge next week, please go to that link I shared in the chat, www.sharpereveryday.com. I'd love to meet you and talk with you and answer your questions and geek out about neurotech and brain health and brain longevity, red light therapy, preventing development of Alzheimer's and other types of dementia diseases, increasing our ability to have deep meditation sessions, which devices I found have worked best, what different programs work best, a workbook for different protocols you can use. It's all there, 5-day challenge. And then if you want to do a longer engagement, got the 8-week program that combines the V-Light red light therapy with Muse meditation and mind mapping. You don't need any gear for the 5-day challenge. For the 8-week, you need a red light therapy device and a Muse headband. And I send you the mind lift attachment. So hope to see you guys there. We had a great 2025 and looking forward to seeing you in 2026. So, Kevin, psychology and biology interact? Yeah, psychology of your mind, the subjective state of your mind, and how the brain is actually oscillating. So that's the correlation. That's what I was talking about. Okay. Great chatting with all of you. And again, hope you have a good New Year's. And I will definitely do another live stream soon. So see you then.